the kind of people that you hate to meet. If we had loving, we wouldn't have war. We wouldn't have killings in our street anymore. We need love and understanding. 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 It ain't fair. It ain't fair. It ain't fair. It ain't fair. I don't know what I'm gonna do. All these people are so damn cruel. If we had loving, we wouldn't have war. We wouldn't have killings in our street anymore. We need love and understanding. We need love and understanding. We need love and understanding. We need love and understanding.
Hi, Deb.
Hi, greetings. And Carolyn's going to bring down the music, and we are live on community radio right here in Littleton, New Hampshire. I want to welcome Kell Arbor. Hi.
Hi, Deb.
Hi.
Good morning.
Kelly is with Pride Vermont and also of the Pride Vermont Center in Burlington. Is that correct? Do I have that right?
You do, yep.
Yeah, Kelly, tell us a little bit more about your work in Burlington with Vermont Pride and a little bit about yourself, if you will.
Sure. I have been with the Pride Center Vermont for the last just over 2 years. I direct our health and wellness programs. We served lived experience folks within the 2ST LGBTQ plus communities with social outreach, with connection for sexual health and substance use prevention, helping folks connect if they've experienced violence. We have a safe space team that's part of the Vermont network. Unfortunately, we see more and more harm coming at our community, especially our trans and gender diverse and communities of color. It's been just multiple years of targeted attacks on our communities. So having joy-based outreach is more important than ever. I feel very grateful that my job is steeped in a lot of pleasure and joy-based work. Our organization also hosts the Burlington Pride Fest, which is we had like over 6,000 or 7,000 folks this last year. It was incredible.
Oh, that's terrific. Yeah.
Hundreds of youth marching. And I live down here in Montpelier. We're a statewide org serving the state and some resources. And part of that is that we've been around for about 27 years, and we've seen more smaller regional pride centers and queer and trans centers popping up. So we do a lot of support in those regions to help bring resources and connections, and just like technical assistance for nonprofits is how do we not recreate the wheel every time?
Yeah. Well, it's big support because I know from my own personal experience, just getting involved in community radio, gosh, I had to learn a lot of stuff about the computer, and then, jump over to social media and, let alone, the digitizing of music these days. It used to be like, well, I remember the cassettes, and even before that, the, 8-tracks. But now everyone just wants to send you, here, go to this link, download the music. So everything is on your computer, and I make playlists too, But we love it, and we really enjoy it, and it's one way that this technology. Look at us today, talking to each other across the river, forming these, hands of support. And that's what I really love about reaching out to some of the nonprofits, because I think that it's really important for us to be supporting each other. And those fake boundaries are really not boundaries. We love the river. We say a prayer every time we cross, but, it's really not. We're all in the same kind of territory, and that is the traditional ancestral homeland of the Western Abenaki peoples. I'll do a more formal land acknowledgement after we talk, but I always recognize that and support that. And I think the main thing with me about community radio is that it gives us this opportunity to have the conversation. And we talked earlier, weeks ago, about supporting art. And so here we are in New Hampshire supporting art in our little community. And I invited Kell to talk about that, what art means to the community that he's working with and how we can support each other in that. So tell us, Kell, a little bit more about your philosophy on art.
Yeah, I've always been an artist. It was near and dear to my heart as a kid who grew up in the late 70s in rural Maine. Books were my escape into resilience. I was able to place myself in a future, in a dreamscape where I had queer and trans community, and the land held me without hatred. The forest, the lake. And so for me, art was always really connected also with nature and expressing myself and having the freedom to do that outside of harm that some of my family members were passing down. So I loved books. I love movies. Now more than ever, we have more media with our stories from the 2ST LGBTQ plus community centered in them. And to have that type of access is really important, not just for ourselves to express that and that gift of our story to other people, but that it might inspire them to liberate themselves, to be their authentic selves too. I'm about as free as I can be without cisgender heterosexual people freeing themselves. It's a frustrating loop. And I have like a little quip, but do you want that as like a
Yeah,
short
sure.
So when I was thinking about, and I read the public radio, the New Hampshire Public Radio interview, and just like as I was reading that, I was thinking about these things, that art is a way for us to express who we are, what we dream of, how we thrive. Sharing that art helps us connect and understand each other. Creating art can also be healing. It's insightful. It's a way to process. It's a method of communicating. We're so focused on the written word, but there's lots of different ways for us to express, especially emotions and things that we have limited language to describe. When I think about banning public art and how much that specifically harms the 2ST LGBT plus people, it denies us our voices through that holistic expression. Banning public art also would create barriers in the efforts that we are making now as a community to understand and build bridges toward inclusive communities. We need to be able to understand each other in intersectional ways. And a picture literally does say 1,000 words. So to see ourselves in all of our identities simultaneously, it's really hard to do that with binary language. And I also was thinking about media. I encourage media not to reprint hate speech and hurtful words that people who they interview say. The media makes a choice when they reprint hate speech. It is causing further harm to say those hateful words again. There's a way to say, this person that we interviewed said all these hateful things about 2ST LGBTQ plus people, versus literally printing those words. Printing those words also gives validation that it's okay to say those harmful things. And media has a lot of power, and there's no neutrality when we're living in such oppression. We are mourning the loss of Nex Benedict, a young person whose life was taken 3 weeks ago. We are living in a terrible genocide happening in Palestine, the Congo, Rwanda. There is constant loss of life in Black and brown communities, people with disabilities, and other folks that don't, fit the norm are being incarcerated both in prisons and psychiatric institutions. And so sometimes, especially in those settings, art might be the only thing giving hope. And when we lose hope, we lose faith. And so having that resilience, having a way for me to express myself is really interconnected with that connection to myself to be able to move those thoughts and emotions out of my body. To not be able to share that just stagnates it, and it can help other people understand us, like see the picture of what we're feeling and seeing. So I just some like brief thoughts on those initial reactions, because we're not talking about taking down all the statues that were made by artists that represent colonizers that came here and perpetuated lots of hate crimes. We're not talking about the Bible, which is a book. We're not talking about the stained glass in a lot of churches, which can be really beautiful, but they're not going to tear out those windows. They're specifically talking about queer and trans stories, people of color stories, stories about people with different abilities. So this is not about banning public art. This is about silencing our voices.
Yeah. Oh, that's so important. Thank you so much for those words, Kel. Very powerful. Thank you. And a lot to think about that there in those words that you just shared with us. Beautifully said. You know, I don't even want to, I just want to continue this conversation. Your group, you mentioned about the Pride Parade that happens in the fall. That's the beginning of September. But what I was most also impressed with is what you offer to the community as ongoing. You have a calendar that's on your website. Can you give us the website so that people can go? And what I saw there was support groups for people who are encouraged to join, to talk with each other, to go shopping together, to do art together, to play music together, to go hear music. I mean, it was just an incredible, wonderful, fun calendar to just look at. And I thought, here is a community that is really they're supporting each other in every way that they can, whether it be sharing a meal or going to see a movie or, book club type stuff or whatever it is. And I thought, wow, that's really beautiful. And all that hard work for these years, you have created a support network that it's just beautiful. So I thank you for that. Thank you for sticking with it, for being around for all these years to, pick up where sometimes whether it be mass media or some of our institutions, they just like create the cracks. You're filling up those cracks and bringing people in a good way. And I wanted to just like continue our conversation, but to talk about healing and how, all of that support network creates an environment that healing can happen. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. And our website, Deb, is pridecentervt.org. We try to list regional events too, and there are virtual events also, so that folks, whether you're living in Vermont or regionally, and I want to co-boost Outright Vermont, serving our youth communities, has a lot of great groups and social support events, as does Out in the Open, which is based out of Brattleboro, their org, but they have workers and events for rural communities specifically also. So those are some other great resources. Healing is really important. It's like, how do we heal when we're actively being harmed? That is a difficult juxtaposition, and finding those moments where we can both grieve and find joy, access our full range of emotions, not just one piece of what we're feeling. When I think about the mental wellness needs of our communities, and one-on-one talk therapy can definitely help a lot of folks, and also a sense of belonging and connecting with community, that also could really save somebody's life that they see a trans elder. I've been transitioned. I was assigned female at birth and have been living as a trans person for 25 years. I am an elder. I I love taking the door off the hinges that young people wouldn't have to recreate the work that we're doing. So in my institutional level hat at the Pride Center, for me, there's a moment in time that we need structural harm repair because we need to structurally heal. And when our white Western medicine healthcare systems, I don't want to call them healing centers, but when those healthcare centers have kept us out for so many reasons, just access to the Band-Aids is a piece of it, but then healing is so much more than a Band-Aid. Healing is like a deep sense of oneself and connecting, and that connection back to the land, again, I feel like is a really big missing piece that our food is not nourishing us. We are destroying our waterways with toxic, just everything, garbage, air pollution, this notion that we can own the land. Like we treat the land in the way that we treat certain bodies, especially Black, queer, femme bodies. So there's so many parallels in our environmental healing that we're not tending to that absolutely parallel our individual and communal healing. And I would like to see more of that in our future. Our Pride Hikes event in collaboration with the Audubon Society is one of our most popular events. It's amazing. Some of the events, they'll have like 70 to 90 people out hiking. I've heard multiple people when they first moved to Vermont, that was the first event they went to.
Oh, wow.
No, it's like we're kept out of the sports industry in so many ways with like gender binary clothing, and being alone in the woods can feel really scary for certain folks of us that would want other people like us out there. There's a bro dude culture that keeps information like paternalized, not helpful when you're a newbie. So there's layers in that healing that we can access as individuals and our interpersonal power. And then a lot of us have institutional power that whether we're doing it collectively as individuals, there's a Palestine march today in Burlington, there's a vigil for Nex Benedict tomorrow in Plainfield, our togetherness creates institutional level power. And the more that we do that at the intersections of our identities and co-boosting groups that we're in alignment with, we're going to be able to get to that work of collective healing, because part of it's around that intersectionality, and I can get multiple needs met at the Pride Center. We have naloxone overdose prevention spray. We have HIV self-test kits. We have condoms and lube. We have information, just things that give you like a full package, not just the Band-Aid. But how do you use it? How do you prevent the cut in the first place?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's so excellent. We have Jill Kimball, who just joined us. And I wanted Jill to come on. I believe she's with Pride New Hampshire in Littleton. Jill, can you hear us? And can you unmute yourself so we can hear you?
Hi, Deb. How you doing? Yep. This is
Good.
Jill from North Country Pride in Littleton, New Hampshire.
All right, North Country Pride. Well, we welcome you. We're here at the radio station. Thank you so much for joining us. We've been talking to Kell Arbor, who is with Vermont Pride out of Burlington. And can you tell us a little bit more about your group here in Littleton?
Sure, Deb. We started about 2019, and we are a group that came together to try to promote visibility for inclusion LGBTQIA folks up here in the North Country. And it was primarily started as a small group, and then we became a 5013C about 2 years ago.
Great. We were just talking, Cal was mentioning how, that they are beginning to reach out, and that all these little groups together form quite, an understanding. And Cal, would you say again a little bit more about how you're inspired by all these like smaller groups that are in the region but coming together.
Yeah, it's so cool to see Essex, Vermont, Rutland, Vermont, the Northeast Kingdom in Vermont, Springfield, Bennington. All of these groups are having their own regional network. Some are becoming 501(c)(3)s. Some have and are looking for physical space. Some are like an events network. Some are hosting Pride Fest. June last year and this year again in Vermont, from tip to tail of June, it's just nonstop Pride Fest all over the state. And it's we need that both end of like big gatherings, but also in my town, there's something happening that I can meet people like me that live here. For folks that also might want to like go to the Northeast Kingdom that have never been up there, a Pride event is a real draw to get people to travel around and explore different parts of Vermont community. And then as we build our network, I'm so excited for both the newer orgs to be able to skill share with each other. There's something really powerful in that affinity of that moment of newness, that we don't have to keep recreating those wheels, that somebody could put info into the network and help everybody.
Right.
As we can help, like, okay, what's worked for us? Not that it's the end all be all, but like word of mouth is still one of our best ways to get people out to events. Deb and I were talking about the digital tech benefits, but I'm an analog kid. I love making a poster, and I think a lot of rurally still see a poster is the way that they find out about an event. There's a lot of harm on digital media too. So
yes, yeah. Jill, I just wanted to ask you if you felt that reaching out to groups in Vermont for support is helpful, and if you had any suggestions how you might be able to bring your groups together.
Oh my gosh, yes, I absolutely. I mean, really, why recreate the wheel? And for us in New Hampshire, the groups in Vermont in general are a step or two or three or four ahead of us. So, in fact, when we started North Country Pride, we relied a lot on White Mountain Pride and their infrastructure to help us, and they were super supportive. And then personally, for me, I work at the hospital in Vermont, and so I've been able to collaborate a lot with the folks in the Northeast Kingdom. There's so much overlap, and then we've had training, from Outright Vermont, so, and then also help from Seacoast, which is in New Hampshire. And really, all of these groups bring a level of expertise that we were able to rely upon and really grow and develop. Everybody's been so open. And, we were thinking about our main event that we host, which is our Pride Ride in September. And I just actually got a message back from Outright Vermont or Vermont Pride too, to find out what their events were that they were hosting, so that we don't step on everybody's toes. We really want to support each other's initiatives and collaborate. That's really a key piece, I think. Great. And, again, Vermont is just a step or two ahead of us in terms of LGBTQIA issues and concerns, and how they have gone about determining infrastructure. And gosh, it's just been so helpful, for us here.
Oh, that's beautiful, Jill. Thank you for sharing that. Also, Jill, is there a way people can find you? Are you, I know you have a Facebook group. Do you want to give any ways that people can contact?
Yeah, absolutely. So North Country Pride New Hampshire, or northcountrypridenh.org, is our main website. And then, of course, on Facebook and Instagram as well.
Okay, great. And I also just want to say, you're welcome back here on North Country Community Radio anytime. Just contact me. We do a regular show, Moccasin Tracks, and Carolyn and I have just started this Saturday afternoon show. So we want to support the communities where we look in a large lens to regional stuff. So, any announcements and stuff like that, please send our way. So, Cal, I wanted to again give you that opportunity to, if we were to begin to, broadcast on our radio station just a little snippet of how to support the LGBTQ community in the region. And I asked you to think about like what we would consider a public service announcement. How about giving that to us now?
Let me pull up my talking sheet.
It's so beautiful, and I wanted to make sure that I got it recorded in a good way so I can, condense it into a little MP3 file and share it with some of the other programmers that they might also broadcast it on their shows.
Totally. You let me know when you're ready.
Okay, I'm ready. Go for it.
Art is a way for us to express who we are, what we dream of, how we thrive. Sharing art can help others understand and connect to us. Creating art can be healing, insightful, a way to process, a method of communicating. To ban public art would harm 2ST LGBTQ plus people and deny us our voices through holistic expression. To ban public art would create barriers in our efforts to understand and build bridges toward inclusive communities. I also encourage media sources to not reprint hate speech and hurtful words from people that they've interviewed. When the media repeats hate speech of interviewees, it can cause further harm to 2ST LGBTQ plus people seeing those words again. There's a choice in media repeating those hateful words. It can also give validation that these things are okay to say, these harmful things. These are just a few of the things that I think about in response to the possible ban of public art in Littleton, New Hampshire.
Thank you so much. Kell Arbor is with Pride Vermont Center. Again, that's vermontpride.org. Is that the correct? No, I didn't get that right.
It's Pride. It's pridecentervt.org.
Thank you, Cal. It's such an honor to talk to both of you, Kell Arbor and Jill Kimball. Do you have any closing words, Jill, for us today on community radio?
Well, I think what Kell said, we reiterate that it was really a tough year for us here in Littleton. And we've always had such support from the community that it was really a surprise for us. We were taken aback by the words of our select board representative. And it was not indicative of what we found in general for our region and our area. So I reiterate, what Kell said for sure, and hope that folks thinking about coming to Littleton, coming to view the art that is there, really take it to heart that the majority of the community is super supportive and has been welcoming, and that Littleton itself, it really embraces diversity, equity, and inclusion, and also artistic endeavors, as seen, throughout Main Street and all around in the community. So I hope that's the big takeaway. We're really working to continue pushing that forward.
Thank you so much, Jill Kimball. It's really been an honor to meet you here on Zoom, and I invite you to come into the station sometime. We'll plan it in advance so we have more time. and Cal, it's just been so much.
Late.
That's okay. That's okay. Kell, just in closing, I want to thank you again for sharing your words. They're very powerful, and it's truly been an honor to have you here on the show today. But in closing, is there anything else you'd like our listeners to take away from our conversation today?
Yeah, I want to boost up some other messages that are really relevant. Our bodies, our choice. Believe people that we're not believed in who we are and we're treated like we don't have value in our bodies is absolutely unacceptable. And silence equals death. We've had allies through the years, and we need accomplices now. We need folks to help educate and teach each other. Why is it important to take a stance now for the liberation of queer and trans bodies, for bodies of color, for bodies that have differing abilities. It's more vital than ever, and that neutrality of silence, it's not neutral. You are taking the side of oppressors, and like Jill said, they're the small voice. The majority of people I meet want our communities to be liberated, but we need that action, whether that's joining school boards, running for city offices, coming out and voting down legislation that keeps us unauthentic is really important now more than ever.
Thank you for that. It truly is. Thank you both for joining us today. And I'm delighted. I want to get together again. Let's, at least in a month or two, let's get together again. Thank you again for joining us here on World Harmony, North Country Community Radio at 99.9 FM and online at northcountrycommunityradio.org. Okay, you guys. Till next time. Adios.
Thanks, Jill.
Thanks so much.